On Tartan Tales, we acknowledge the Kaurna people as the traditional custodians of the Adelaide Plains and the Mount Lofty Ranges where Seymour College stands today.
Hi, I'm Priyanka, joined by Charlotte, and welcome to this week's episode of Tartan Tales. Today we are delighted to be speaking to our very special guest, Alison Mitchell Hannaford, one of the South Australia's most celebrated contemporary visual artists. Born in Malaysia and raised in Mount Gambier, Alison now lives and works in her property in the Clare Gilbert Valley, where she paints directly from life, often in watercolour and oil. Alison responds to the seasonal changes of her environment, underpinned by careful observation and informed by her formal studies in anthropology and Asian art history. For more than 3 decades, Alison's work has been shown both across Australia and internationally, finding its way into private collections and galleries. She has been recognised as a finalist in major art national prizes, including the Portia Geach and the Doug Moran. In this episode, we will explore Alison's creative journey and what it means to build a career as an artist, and how creativity, curiosity, and persistence can shape a meaningful life and career. Alison, thank you so much for joining us today. How did growing up in Mount Gambier after being born in Malaysia shape the way you see the world and the way you create your art?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. As the child of migrants, my mother was Malay, my father was British. It made a difference, I think, to life down there. But we had a very close family unit, and we did lots of bushwalking and lots of sport, but neither of my parents are very interested in art, so art was way down the list. So we did a lot of sport, a lot of going to concerts, music concerts, all that sort of stuff. But my father also refused to have a television in the house when everyone else did in those days. And so therefore I did a lot of reading and a lot of drawing and a lot of work with my hands. And on reflection, I mean, I didn't think about it at the time, but I think that might have sort of made me more practical in my hands. Yeah. It was interesting. I think I had a lovely group of friends at school, and they were very supportive. So there was a little bit of, stuff because there weren't very many other Asian kids. I don't think there were any almost when I grew up. And so there was a little bit of that. But I was lucky. I had really good friends that were really supportive, and so it didn't affect me that much.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was just a pretty idyllic childhood, really. Yeah. Just lots of animals, and I was a horse girl.
Nice.
So all I wanted to do was ride horses, which was hard on my parents because they knew nothing about horses.
Did you have horses in Malaysia?
I remember before we left, I was about 3. I remember going to a birthday party, and there were ponies, and people were riding ponies, and I think that's what started it. So it was just this kind of fascination. And then I came to Australia, and I remember going to visit a farm, and there was a horse there, and I was fascinated by that. And to be honest, I learnt how to draw horses quite young, and that was my thing.
So difficult to draw.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness,
and
that's so impressive.
Well, that was what I did, was I drew horses. And I remember having, there'd be the Melbourne Cup and everyone would come to me to draw their horse for them, that sort of thing.
That's so cool.
So somehow the horses and the art are tied together in my case.
Please tell me you have a horse on your property now.
Well, I used to, but unfortunately he died of old age. But I do sculpting sometimes.
Oh, wow.
And the only things, I have sculpted other things, but I have done 2 horses, and I love sculpting horses.
That's incredible. Wow. So would you say that art started more as a hobby for you?
Well, I've never really thought of it as a hobby. I just always, I don't kind of put that label on, but I think of it as practice, and I think that applies to a lot of artists. You might not. Yeah, I think as soon as you start thinking of it as a hobby, that kind of puts it in a different. But thinking of it as constant practice, and it doesn't matter which, how famous you are or not famous you are. you have to keep practicing.
Was there a moment when you kind of realised that you wanted to take art like as your career and take it for the rest of your life with you?
Not really. It was always a way that I could earn a living. So I found from when I was in my early 20s, I could, I did face and body painting. I did a lot of that, and I did murals, and I did, in those days, chalkboards were big, so I did illustrated chalkboards and designed T-shirts. I illustrated a children's book. It was always a way that I could make money, support myself basically.
Yeah.
And then I actually went back to university and did an honours degree, and then started a PhD. And when I was halfway through that, I think a few things happened in my life that made me question what I was doing. And I think it might have been at that moment that I really decided that I didn't want to keep going with those things and just paint. Yeah.
Lovely.
So what are some challenges that you faced when pursuing art that made you maybe question if it was what you wanted to do? And then how did you overcome that and stay true to yourself?
Ooh. Art, pursuing a creative career, whether it's art or music or dance or whatever, is always going to be about an unpredictable income source.
Yes.
No matter what, it's always, it's never secure. So that's always something that faces creative types, I guess. You've just always got to go, whoa, yeah, throw my lot into the wind because, but in another way, I kind of got used to that. So that was okay. It's part of, I think if you were expecting a regular income every week or whatever, then you might find it a little bit tricky. But if you're sort of willing to be a bit gung-ho, it works. Yeah.
Yeah. So for students who may not know about the profession of art, what does a typical day as an artist look like for you?
Yeah, well, for me, it's on the property that we live on, there's a house and there's a studio, and so it's a quick walk down to the studio.
So your studio's not in your house?
Not inside the house. No, it's in an old, used to be a milking shed that's been
that's so cool.
Converted into an old stone building that my husband converted before I moved in there. So it's just a walk down, and I get to check I don't even check my emails half the time, I must admit. Basically walk into the studio and begin where I left off, which might be a painting that's up on the easel already. Sometimes I have to do a bit of maintenance work, so I might have to prepare canvases, or if I've got an exhibition coming, there's a lot of collating, which I don't like doing, but it's a necessity. Right. So, labels and collating and putting images in portals these days, which is just and then varnishing and putting screws on, especially if I'm not getting them framed. So a lot of sort of that stuff that goes with it. But the best thing is when, I don't know if you remember when you're a little kid and there's summer holidays just stretched ahead in front of you. Well, I love that feeling of, I know I've got a week ahead of me, nothing else to do, and it's just paint. And that's my favourite thing.
Yes. Do you have multiple projects going at a time?
I do. A little bit, yeah. I actually have, I've made it so that I've got three now studio spaces. So there's one downstairs, and I go up a few little steps, and there's another easel set up there, and that's really useful for me because it gives me time. I can work on one, and then I can, just to give my eyes a break, and I think it's really important to do that. Just and then work on another one down the bottom, and then that break is really good because you see things freshly, I think.
How do you switch between the flow of doing three at once? Because
it's usually two, but
we like to do our visual study and the folio at the same time.
Right.
As in Mr. Hetherington's trying to get us to do it at the same time, but it
doesn't.
It's hard.
Yeah,
because we're so focused on this one,
and then to stop and restart another one.
Yeah, I guess it's possibly because I choose when I stop, and I'm not being guided by the end of lesson or something, so I can just work until I feel like a break or whatever. Yeah.
And do you always have your subject matter in front of you as well?
Yeah.
So it'll just stay set up there.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
And I work, like I put the subject and then the canvas next to it, and I walk, and my paints are about 3 or 4 meters behind. So I'm walking constantly, so I get that vision. Whereas I notice in a lot of art groups and classes, people have a photo and they sit next to, they paint.
Yes, there's
and they don't actually move. Whereas I find, because I'm working from life with still life, I find it really important to get that vision back. In fact, I'd love a longer view back, but I don't have, so I make do with 3 meters. But it's just really good to have that. And also, every time you move slightly, the whole thing changes. So you have to find,
or even the different time of day as well.
Exactly,
like
the light changes. Yeah, you're right. And so I've got to know I have a side window, south lit, because that's in the southern hemisphere, south lit. And I have a skylight, an open skylight at the top.
Oh, nice.
And I've got to know when it's like, there's a time at about 11:30 every morning where the light goes really weird and I have to take a break. It's a good time for
morning
coffee.
tea.
Yeah, exactly. So you get to know your surroundings and get to know your studio space and the light, and that's part of it, I guess.
How do you pick like your composition with the still lifes and like how to arrange it?
It's interesting that sometimes I spend more time working out a composition than I do painting, which sounds really strange. But I am someone who likes to arrange things
very intentionally.
Thank you. Yeah, very intentionally. And some people don't. I've got friends who just whatever throw. But I do, and sometimes they have a bit of meaning to me, not necessarily to anyone else, as in how I arrange and what I put up there. And other times I can just throw something down and oh yeah, that'll do. So it's a bit dependent on style. And sometimes things work, and every stroke you put down is right. You're in the flow, and it's like boom, boom, and you mix the right colour and put it down, and that's really love. That's and then other days when everything you do is wrong, and you've got to take it down and repaint and all that. So it's very dependent on, I guess, mood and just
And do you work with oil paints as well?
Yeah, I'm predominantly oil paint.
So is there a reason that you choose to work with oil over like acrylic or gouache or watercolour?
Yeah, I love watercolour, and I do still sketch a lot in watercolour, and paint is for me it's very movable. So I can, it's easy to transport. The paint dries and you can put it, so if we travel, I'm to get my watercolours out.
Because oil takes so long to dry.
Yeah, it's a pain. You've got wet paintings in cars, not much fun. So, but oil paints are fantastic because they dry to exactly the colour that you put down. Whereas acrylics, you find with acrylics the darks dry darker and the lights dry lighter. Which is fine, and they work beautifully for different types of art. But for realism, it's tricky because then once it dries, and then the next layer you put on looks like it's the same, but it'll dry a different colour. Right. So oils are very forgiving, and you can easily take them off with terps. And I mean, there are rules with oils. A thick over thin, so a thicker paint. Oilier paint over terpsy paint, otherwise it'll crack.
Okay.
And so when you see old paintings that have cracked, sometimes it's because the artist has put a thinner layer over the top. Yeah,
I didn't know that. There you go.
So there are rules with oils, but they're easy enough to work out. I just like them now. Bit smelly, but
we know. It's like if one person's painting with oil in our art room, it's like
too much. You got to get the odorless terps. Got to get them onto odorless terps. That's the only way. But a bit smelly.
What's your favourite composition that you've worked on?
Oh,
surely you have a favourite.
Favourite composition?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I have been doing an ongoing series of vessels, like glass vessels with water, and things seen.
I was looking at one of them this morning.
Okay.
With
Is it
the
the one with
jugs and the
the-
oranges.
And
Okay,
was it,
yeah.
like with the red like pepper or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it started from an exhibition I had up at Huntoff Academy where it was called Stillwater, and it was all about that. And then, but I just keep on doing it because I love doing it. So I just love the way that water refracts light and objects, and so that I find that endlessly fascinating. So that I guess that those compositions I find interesting. People probably don't; they're probably sick of it. But
that was like when we looked at it, that one's really cool because it's like distorted,
Yeah.
but you like made it look so realistic still.
Yeah, you can sort of distort, and if you move it a little bit, all these fruit come up the side, and all that. Sort of, it's that's fun.
Yeah.
Other composition, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it like that. Yeah.
Does the red pepper like mean anything to you? Or did you just like it because it's like a pop of colour?
It was a pop of colour, but no, chilies. That was, I like chilies.
Yeah. Does it like bring you back to your Malaysian roots?
Probably, yeah. And the next exhibition that I did at Huntoff Academy was actually about my Malay and English culture mix, so it was sort of cross-cultural thing. So I'd just been to England and cleared out my grandmother's house, so there's no one left in England basically, and so I'd cleaned and had all these objects that were from the family, and I combined that with my memories of Malaysia, and we used to stay at my mother's brother's place, and he had like tiger rugs, with the head sticking up and things like that. I know. And a friend of mine just gave me they had a tiger head, and she gave it to me to paint.
Oh my gosh.
So
Have you done it
yet? Yeah. So I did a bit of that was interesting. That was an interesting little project where I looked, and I was fascinated by this batik in the Art Gallery of South Australia.
Yes. My grandma is like, she really wants me to learn batik because she's Malaysian.
Yeah. Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking of maybe doing that for my year 12,
Yeah.
one of my year 12 arts. Because it's like when they have fabric and they put like wax on it.
Yeah.
Have you done a lot with that?
Well, when I was researching for this show, I went to Canberra and they had a batik workshop, and I went over with a friend of mine who's also an artist in Adelaide who's Malay.
Yeah.
And she does a lot more batik than me, but we both went to this and it was actually at the same time as Emily Kamkangwari, who's an Aboriginal artist from, I think, Pitjantjatjara, and she started painting because she did batiks.
Oh.
So it's fascinating. They had this thing, and then they had these and why she did batik was the Australian government organised these batik sessions for the Pitjantjatjara women. Yeah. And Emily, I don't know if you know her work, but she's a brilliant artist, and she now paints these big, she's dead now, but she painted big, broad, beautiful Aboriginal acrylics. But she's got this lovely quote where she goes, batik, it's just too much hard work because there's all this washing and cleaning. Plus you're in the desert and you need lots of water. So, it didn't really make sense.
I guess so.
But I did this workshop with these Indonesian people who that's what they did, and it was fascinating. Yeah. Wow. But it's hard work.
Yeah.
Lots of,
would be.
and then
like layers on layers.
And and then the indigo, they had the old fashioned indigo that from the leaves. Anyway.
Maybe during the art making process, what are some challenges that you face?
During the art making process?
Like, have you ever faced a mental block?
Yeah.
No, I touch wood. I never have. I've never done that. I think it's because if I feel like I'm stuck or bogged down, I'll just go and do something totally different. So I just change. I'll either go out into the garden, do some gardening or whatever, or else concentrate on things that need to be done, like check my emails. So, and then come back with a fresh eye. I think it's all about a fresh eye.
Yeah. Okay.
And, I was thinking about this the other day that when especially when you first start painting, your mind is telling you that it's really good. Mm-hmm. I mean, you might not. You might go, oh, it's not as good. But in some ways, your mind convinces you that what you're doing is good, and you've really got to ignore that and still keep working and sort of, there's something about changing your perspective, whether it's to turn the sheet upside, whether it's to turn your head upside down.
He always says, put it up against a wall, take a few steps back, or look at it in a mirror
Exactly.
or something, because
through
it
a mirror.
always is so distorted when you're looking at it from that angle.
And your brain goes, oh, it's right.
Yeah.
And then you change the perspective, or you go out and skip around the school or whatever and come back in and suddenly you see it with fresh eyes.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of artists just turn their paintings to the wall and leave them for weeks, and if you've got, and then come back with fresh eyes. And I mean, that's, you'll see a painting that you've done a few years ago and go, oh, did I do that? I didn't fix that properly. So the fresh eyes thing. But that's your brain telling you.
Yeah.
Deceiving us in a way, saying, oh, we're okay, it's good. But the reality is if you just, as you turn it around.
Yeah. Do you ever go back and like add things to your painting that you've made a couple of years ago?
Occasionally.
Or do you just like leave it be?
No, occasionally I have.
Yeah.
Especially if it's in my, I've still got it in my student. Not so much if someone's bought it, it's a bit rude.
You just pop into the house. Give it
sorry, I'm just going to change the background. No, I haven't done that very often.
No. Do you have any advice for art students at Seymour, just who might be thinking of doing and pursuing a creative career, but just might not have the knowledge about it?
Yeah. Look, I think things have changed a lot since I was young, and I think everything's a little bit more formulated. And I mean, when I was young, I had an older friend who said to me, "Oh, you don't go to art school because every year you spend in art school, you take 3 years to get out of." You
do hear a lot of that.
That's
a bit more pessimistic views.
Yeah. But I don't think it's quite true. I think art school does allow you to make contacts and learn, a whole lot of stuff that is really necessary. I think my main advice, if you call that, would be to be curious. Like, as you said at the start of this interview, curiosity is so important. Like to be genuinely interested in what you're doing, so that you really want to go and do it. Like, not because you think it should be done or whatever. I mean, that personal kind of fascination with whatever it is, whether it's batik or landscapes or portraiture, whatever. It has to come from you, not from elsewhere. Yeah. And if it comes from you, it's sustainable. Yeah.
Aww.
I don't know if we touched on this before, but is there like a reason why you like really like to focus on like still life over like portraiture and landscapes and whatnot?
No, we haven't had that.
Oh, okay.
Still life. Look, partly it's because it's there. It surrounds me. I'm a collector of things. I love stuff, and there's certain things that I like, and and it doesn't talk back to me. I can just, it's there in my studio. I can tell stories. I can do a narrative with it. I can use it to create.
How so?
Well, so about 5 or 6 years ago, I was invited to have an exhibition in the Museum of Economic Botany in the Adelaide Botanic Garden, and given free range of whatever I wanted to do. And it was COVID, so it kind of made it a bit tricky. But I chose to do a show on citrus, on lemons, and there was this disease that hadn't come into Australia yet, but it devastated citrus around the world. And then I found out that citrus actually might have probably originated in Gondwanaland, which is Australia, the Australian continent. So it seemed to me, this fascinating that citrus began, like there are more endemic citrus species in Australia. Anyway, I did a lot of research and I found it really fascinating. And what was the question again?
Like how you develop narratives through still life.
So that became so through doing the painting, I was able to do this narrative about citrus and how it had moved across the world, basically from Southeast Asia or Australia, Southeast Asia, right across to the Mediterranean. People think now of citrus, they think of it coming from Italy or somewhere, but and so I find that fascinating. I mean, perhaps a lot of artists wouldn't, and they'd think that's really boring. But I guess it goes with my anthropology. So I studied anthropology for a long time. So that chance to visually narrate some idea is, for me, interesting.
Do you find that like your study in anthropology often comes out in your art?
Possibly not consciously, but perhaps subconsciously. Yeah. I mean, I'm fascinated by things like water, obviously, still water, but what's happening to the environment, but it won't be in a sort of a heavy-handed way. It's probably this underlying threads of interest that I follow. Yeah.
Do you ever paint like just the landscape sitting outside? Like, what was it? En plein air.
Oh, yeah, I love en plein air. Yeah, I did a lot more of it years ago, but I still do. Get the easel out and
just like outside your studio.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a time crunch, I guess, because you have to do it before like the lighting changes.
Yeah, you've only got like 2 hours. Really. Yeah, you've got 2 hour windows. I mean, it's really good up in the desert country because every day you get blue sky, so you can just go out every day between 10 and 12 and paint one landscape and it'll be the same the next day almost. Yeah. Whereas not so much, well, a little, sometimes it's okay down in the south, but yeah.
Oh, would you say that your relationship with painting has changed over your years in painting, in your career? Has it gotten easier or harder?
Well, probably the actual painting and drawing up and working out what I need in a composition. Yeah, I guess with constant use, that has become easier. Just, constant practice does make things easier. Yes.
But I feel like you've always had like an appreciation for like beauty and the way you describe the pot.
It's a good-looking pot.
It's a good-looking pot.
I guess so. Yeah. Maybe those things are innate, but I think they're probably innate in most people. So most people see beauty in things. And everyone finds a different way to most people find a different way to express it. Yeah. And whether it's photography or dance, whatever, there's different ways of exploring. Yeah.
So do you think that creativity is important regardless of the career that people choose?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Really important, I think. And just a really good way to you might be a mathematician at the highest level, but if you can see beauty and see. I went the other day. I went and saw a talk by Brian Cox. Have you heard of Brian Cox? He's a physicist, astronomer. He often describes the universe, and he had this big show at the entertainment centre. It was a few weeks ago. Sold out the entertainment centre. He's amazing and spoke for 2 hours without any kind of from the tiniest quarks to the biggest. He's right on top, SETI and all of that, right on top of physics and the universe.
Is he from Adelaide?
No, he's from he's English.
But he came here.
Well, he travels around the world doing talks. He's on the ABC quite a lot. But he described the universe in terms of patterns. And it was really fascinating to see that, physics and the way patterns form naturally. So, the patterns of snowflakes, the patterns that wind makes over sand, over water, and I think that ability to see patterns and to explore it through the arts it's a really good skill to have. Yeah.
How many exhibitions would you do a year, would you say?
Depending. I mean, a couple usually. A few. I've got 3 lined up next year.
Wow.
And I just think that it's a totally different way. I find exhibitions a bit daunting, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, is there a bit of a deadline? Like you have to create so many pieces before to compose the exhibition?
Yeah. So there's that as well. But I tend to look, when I was your age, I was the messiest kid in the school. I was the least organised. They had the messiest locker, everything. now I'm the opposite. I'm very organised, and I've got an exhibition painted well before it's due.
Right.
So which I guess is just a learning thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's partly because that feeling of not being ready is not what I like at all. It's very daunting. So I make sure it's never like that. You know. And I'm able to work for 8, 10, 12 hours sometimes in the studio, especially when it's summer and it's lots of good light. I can be 12 hours in the studio.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, but I enjoy it, so it I'm not counting down the time.
Do you run the exhibitions yourself, or is it with other people?
No, it's usually through galleries. Which I mean, I guess it doesn't. Well, no, that's not true. The first gallery I showed at in the 90s was a gallery called Green Hill Galleries in North Adelaide. It doesn't exist anymore, but they were the days when galleries were the only way. You know, there wasn't social media. There wasn't there wasn't any other way to get your art. So it was only through the gallery system. And I guess that if you had gone to art school, you might go through a different type of gallery system. It might be more state-sponsored galleries. But if you weren't, you had to go through the commercial galleries. I guess there were things like art competitions to show your work, or to be sort of taken seriously, I guess you had to go through a commercial gallery, and they knew it. They knew they held all the power. So I remember going in there and having about 4 or 5 being very nervous and putting my paintings on the wall, and the fella who owned the gallery he just knew how nervous I was, and he just ignored me for about an hour, and I stood there like a wet bucket of, and I was just But in the end, I did have a couple of exhibitions there, and they were good and sold out. That was fine, but it was, they were daunting times. Hopefully no artists have to do that sort of stuff anymore. No. But I think in those days, particularly, galleries really did hold with young artists. They had the had all the power, and now eventually you build up galleries that you have good associations with, good. So I exhibit with Hill Smith, and they're just a lovely gallery, and also Art Images. They're really, really efficient and lovely, and at Harndorf. And so gradually over the years, I've built up good relationships with different. And so then I don't have to do the hanging or anything.
I was gonna say, is it weird having your art valued by other people?
Yeah.
Valued as in
putting you're putting up your art for it to be judged.
You
put
comments.
Your heart and soul.
No, look, I really like hearing. I'm my harshest critic. Yeah, wow. Absolutely. Yeah. So no one can be harsher than me. So if whatever people say is fine. Yeah, I remember going that first exhibition. I had a lot of life drawing nudes there, and I remember walking through, and they didn't know who I was, and some person saying, "Oh, look at that toe," or something. And I thought, oh, yeah, they're right. I could have done that better. And I remember with the Unlemon show, someone walking through and saying something. It was quite funny, but it was also a bit derogatory. And I thought, fair enough. Look, you got to take that on. I mean, there's only one way to grow, is to hear criticism and think of it as constructive criticism. And, I mean, it's much better. I'd much rather hear that than people saying, that's nice or whatever. It's constructive criticism is really helpful, really handy.
Yeah. What do you think about the representation of women as artists? Is it getting better over time?
Yeah, I think it's definitely becoming better lately. Yeah, in the last decade or so, I'd say.
That's great.
I just, I mean, all those stories of all those women who struggled so hard. It was definitely a male-dominated world. I think there is a bit of a turnaround, but it's still a bit of way to go, I suppose. But I think probably there are a lot of women artists, and there are a lot more women curators, and a lot more women directors of galleries, and you'd hope that those things change.
Have an influence, yeah.
I've noticed that when I've been to galleries lately, in Australia, but in the UK as well, there's a lot of young people visiting I'm always really pleasantly surprised to see like 20-something-year-olds just wandering around national galleries, and I think that's really nice because it's part of it's history. You're seeing images from the past that didn't exist otherwise because there was no photography. Yeah, I don't know it. And then a lot of people doing life drawing, and so getting totally away from machines. I think there was a bit of a interest in that, and just sketching. What do they call it? Urban sketching or something? People that go around like sketching.
Yes, like people watching and doing a little bit of sketching.
Yeah, and I mean that's a sort of a really good aside to that kind of technological influence. So I guess those things, I mean, that ability to see, with your eyes, but actually with your brain, because it's not your eyes that see, it's your brain that sees, and then be able to put that image onto a piece of paper, even if it's not quite right, doesn't matter. You're still doing it, and it's such an important ability. David Hockney, who just died a couple of days.
I love David Hockney.
Yeah, well, he said something because he was a big proponent of plein air. So he always talks about that drawing, and it is such a good skill to have, and you can do it quietly when when you're bored. And I do it when I'm sitting in the car and I draw, or I'm at a talk and if I'm at the back and no one's looking, I'll draw. It's a really good little thing to have, and it kind of, I mean, it's good because all your other senses are alive, your hearing and your, whatever, but you can still quietly draw, and you're using that part of your brain that's really important. Yeah.
So obviously you put so much hard work and time and dedication into creating a piece for however many hours, like 20 or like 100 hours even. So how do you find putting a price point on that piece? Because it's quite invaluable, really.
Pricing is the hardest. That is definitely the hardest thing. How do you, and I mean, the commercial galleries tend to do it by, size. So,
right.
This painting is that big, so therefore it's this much, and then this painting's a bit bigger, so therefore we'll add half.
Right.
So they get a bit squirmy if I go, oh well, I've spent more time on that, so I want more. But well, that was a harder, so no, everything has to be according to size. So that's one way to do it. But then you've got to know how much each size, is it $100? Is it $10,000? Is it, it is the hardest part. But I guess I've only done it because as I've painted and as things have sold, I've gone, well, then I'm doing okay, and you put it up a little bit. Some people are painting at a certain price and then they win some big prize and then they go, whoa, now everything is worth $100,000. That can be dangerous because then you
struggle to sell.
Then you have to keep up that price because you can't go down. Well, you can, but it's not very good for people that have bought your paintings in the past because there is that sort of thing where you the people that have bought you are your supporters. They've supported you, but at the same time, they're holding on to your work, and that's an investment in a sort of funny sort of way. I don't know. I don't think of it in those terms all the time, but I guess now that you're bringing it up, that is how it is. But pricing is the hardest.
Okay, so now it is time for our rapid fire segment, Tartan Threads. We're going to ask some quick questions and we'd love just the first answer that comes to your mind. So what's your favourite gallery or museum?
The Catalunya Gallery in Spain.
What is your favourite South Australian landscape to paint?
Kings Beach, yeah.
What's one word to describe creativity? Other than creativity.
That's a bit of a hard one.
Curiosity.
Who is an artist that you admire?
Indigo, my granddaughter.
Oh, that is so sweet.
What is a piece of art that has had the biggest impact on you?
Oh, an Ian Fairweather painting. Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah.
Coffee or tea in the morning?
Coffee.
Lovely. What's your favourite way to spend a free afternoon?
painting.
It's a bit of a given.
Best advice you've ever received?
Don't take yourself so seriously.
Favourite South Australian destination?
Port Wollonga. I went in there the other day. It was fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, yes. What is your favourite colour to work with?
Blue. Yeah. I love blue.
Oh.
Blues. Yeah.
Oh, well, we're both in Douglas. So.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
What is a skill that you'd love to learn?
How to knit.
So true. That's so true. Yeah.
Some people are really good at knitting.
Yeah.
Some people just get it. I've tried so many
Get
times.
into a flow. What's your favourite type of paintbrush?
I actually like a flat.
A flat?
Yeah, flat.
Oh.
Yeah. What is one thing that people would be surprised to learn about you?
This came up the other day. I'm hemophobic. I faint, like Doc Martin. I faint at the sight of blood.
Wow.
So it's lucky I didn't become a doctor.
Yeah.
Or a nurse.
I mean, my question was, if you weren't an artist, what would you be doing? So I guess
Not a doctor. I think I'd like to be a writer.
Oh,
Yeah.
Cool.
Love that.
Yeah.
Before we finish, we'd love to hear one thing that you wish you knew when you were younger. It could be a piece of advice, a lesson you've learned through experience, or something that has helped guide your life and career.
Yeah, that's a great question and really interesting. I think if I had could tell my younger self something, it would be to be more sure of to be more sure of what I feel and what I wanted to do, and not that you shouldn't listen to other people, but just especially boyfriends. I just wish I just ignored them all, just done my own stuff. Yeah, I think to have been more true to what I really just ignored. Yeah, be more self-confident. A little bit of self-confidence. I mean, of course, we are all uncertain, and we all. It is good to be unsure of certain things and to ask advice, but in some ways, it's also self-confidence is an important attribute.
It's wonderful advice. I'm going to take that on.
Oh, good. Yeah, I think so too.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on Tartan Tales today, Alison.
Thank you.
It has been a pleasure to meet you and talk to you. It's been wonderful hearing about your artistic journey and learning more about the creativity, dedication and storytelling that goes into building a career in arts. And that's a wrap on this episode of Tartan Tales. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from Alison Mitchell Hannaford today and gained some insight into creativity, resilience, and the many different pathways that can lead to a fulfilling and meaningful career. Like the threads woven into our Blackwatch tartan, Tartan Tales brings us together. Stories from across our communities, stories that inspire us to be courageous, curious, and creative. Keep asking questions, keep exploring new ideas, and keep weaving your own story. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Tartan Tales.